Joining us now on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. There he is on X on YouTube as we stream live at WI Sports Radio. He is Jim Callis, senior writer at MLB Pipeline, the godfather of ranking prospects. Do you like that, the godfather, or do they have a better nickname for you, Jim Callis, that you prefer?
I don't know if I have a better nickname. I feel like Alan Simpson, who started Baseball America, is really the godfather. So maybe maybe a rung below godfather, but I'll take it.
I mean, and I said this earlier, and I'm not the biggest Kuiper fan, but you're kind of like the Kuiper for baseball, where like you're the guy that's on TV talking about it tonight. MLB Network going over the top 100 prospects list as well, which I'll be tuned into and check that out. So when the Brewers make a trade, I got to come find me some Jim Callis and find out whether or not he likes this trade. So Freddy Peralta gone. He goes to the Mets, I should say. The Brewers get two guys back. We'll get to Sproat in a second. I want to get your thoughts on Jett Williams, who's the highest rated of the two prospects. I mean, I'm 5'6". This dude's 5'7". They now got three dudes on this Brewers team about the same size as me, which is kind of unheard of in baseball. But I feel like he might be more talented than Frelick at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say he's definitely faster than you, Sparky. He might
Thank
be
you.
He's definitely faster.
Yeah.
No, it's prospects. There's always variance with these guys, right? Like Jett Williams tore up AA and then struggled in AAA, so you kind of have to factor that in. I mean, he's still pretty young. Like ideally he's a catalyst. He's a guy who bats atop your lineup, makes things happen. He has probably more pop than you'd think for a guy who's 5'7", 175. I think is what he's listed at. Although it's a good and a bad thing, because I think sometimes it makes him a little too aggressive at the plate and maybe cuts into his hitting ability a little bit. Like, the Brewers always have, he's kind of fits that typical Brewers profile in that he does a little bit of everything. He can steal bases, he can play defense, he can play a variety of positions. He can, I don't think he's a plus hitter, but like he's not a below average hitter. He's got some pop. And the Brewers kind of have a lineup, it seems like a whole bunch of those guys, and you throw them out there and they do stuff that doesn't necessarily show up in the box score, like play really good defense and put a lot of pressure on the other team's defense with their speed and aggressiveness on the bases. And he kind of fits that Brewers mentality. I don't think he's really a shortstop at the big league level. I think he's capable of playing there, but this type of guy, he's more of an average shortstop, and you're going to want a better shortstop. And the Brewers have better defensive options than him at shortstop. And even at second base, as long as you have Bryce Terang, Bryce Terang is a really good second baseman, and he's better than Jett Williams at second base, so he's probably more of an outfielder. And like him versus Frelick, I guess I'd look at that like, and not just because Frelick's been in the big leagues, but Frelick probably has a higher floor, feel a little safer bet. But Jett Williams has a chance to be more dynamic offensively than Sal Frelick is, but there's more risk involved.
See, you broke it down at the major league level, Jim, as far as where he fits at the major league level right now. But if you look at the minor league level, and before the Freddy Peralta trade, we were kind of like saying, man, this Brewers team is so stacked in the farm system. Like at this point, third base was a problem for the longest time as far as developing somebody there. Now MLB Pipeline, we got two guys right there, including the number one guy in Andrew Fisher. Got Brock Wilken, who I think is number 9 in the top 10. So you got two third basemen. So that's no longer an issue. And then after they make the trade for Jett Williams, Jim Callis, I go, they're probably lacking in outfielders if you start looking at their minor league system as far as guys that are going to come up here and contribute anytime soon.
Yeah, although I think Jett is probably more outfielder than infielder.
Right.
It'll be interesting when Jesus Made is ready, where he winds up fitting. I do kind of like Josh Adamczewski. I think he's going to be a full-time outfielder now. He's not ready to come up in the next year and a half. He's probably more 2 years away. But they do have depth of talent. I keep saying this. I think the Brewers are probably the most underrated franchise in terms of doing more with less. The Rays get a lot of credit, and frankly, the Brewers are more successful than the Rays. And maybe they spend more, but it's not tons more. And, like in a perfect world, you'd rather keep Freddy Peralta and try to have the best team you could this year. But that's just not the way the Brewers operate. And, they know what they're dealing with, that they're not going to re-sign these guys. And, again, the directives come from ownership as to whether you're going to pay free agents and what you're going to do. It's not necessarily like the front office is just like, hey, let's trade all these guys, but like they know what they're up against. But it seems like every year the Brewers trade guys, and we're like, okay, are they going to be able to do this again? And they do it again. What is it? 7 of the last 8 years they've been in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been rolling. And next year, it's going to be William Contreras' turn because he'll have a year left on his deal. And then they have Jefferson Cuero behind him, itching at the opportunity to play at the major league level, but he obviously has to stay healthy. Jim Callis, senior writer, MLB Pipeline, joins us. Follow him on X at Jim Callis, MLB. Those guys have their top 100 prospects list coming up tonight on MLB Network. Check that out. Too. Let's talk about the other player involved in this trade for Freddy Peralta, Brandon Sproat, who we had a chance to see at the big league level this year already. Sub-5 ERA. What is he? 6'3", 6'4", and throws pretty decently hard.
Yeah, he's interesting because going back to his days of Florida, like on his good days, he looks really, really good, and it just comes down to consistency with him. And you could kind of eye a beholder him, really, Sparky. Like you could look at that guy and say, hey, I think that guy could be a frontline guy because fastball, curveball, slider, changeup all can be solid to plus when they're on. And he has probably average control, if you're balancing it all out. It just comes down to command and executing those pitches. So on his good days, you think, man, that guy could pitch in the front half of the rotation. Then there's days where he's not commanding it and getting whacked around a little bit. And that happened to him in the big leagues, some, and you're like, I don't know, maybe this guy's like a number 5 or a reliever, but he is. I mean, it's a talented arm, and the thing is, not that every guy is going to get better when they join the Brewers, but the Brewers, and again, I don't think they get enough credit for this, do a really good job at developing prospects, and we could kind of debate whether Sproat's really a prospect because he's 25 now and he's been in the big league. But I think they also, with big leaguers who maybe aren't prospects anymore, they maximize guys' ability to do what they do best. They put guys in a position to do what they do best and put them in roles in which they can be valuable. They just do a wonderful job of that. So to me, not that the Mets don't, but like I feel, I don't know, a little bit better about Brandon Sproat when I look at the Brewers. I mean, you look at a guy like Jacob Misiorowski, who's got, obviously crazy stuff, but was like this super raw ball of clay, what they've molded him into, or a guy like on the other kind of end of the spectrum of stuff, like Logan Henderson doesn't blow you away with stuff, but like Logan Henderson was really good. Or you get Quinn Priester, who was a first-round pick and a top prospect, and he never kind of, came through. And then he's on the Brewers, and I forget what he won, or they won 18 of his starts in a row, or whatever it was last year. So I feel good about the Brewers being able to help Brandon Sproat be the best guy he can be.
I was going to bring up Misiorowski because as you were talking about Sproat, talking about, well, these guys can be plus pitches, but then there's days where he doesn't have his command. And that's the thing that really hampered Misiorowski in the minor leagues, where he just didn't have his command all the time. And I brought this up after the season ended. Actually, it was in December when we had Matt Arnold on the show. And I said, maybe I'm crazy here, but all the pressure's on Misiorowski. He makes his debut and he throws doesn't give up a hit. Next game out, it comes out. I don't think he gave up a hit in that game, right? Yep. Then he takes that comebacker and he misses some time. And now when he comes back, nobody's talking about him anymore. He's kind of, he's fine. He's back. No big deal. And I was like, let's see what happens when he gets to the postseason. Maybe this dude knows how to focus in big game moments and can really deliver. And sure enough, dude got to the playoffs. He focused in and he looked really good. So I might be wrong, but it feels like that's a focus thing. But with Misiorowski, he didn't have or doesn't have 5 or 6 pitches where prior to him getting called up, you said, well, it could be average to plus pitches. He's got a couple. It sounds like Sproat's got a deeper repertoire if he can find his command.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of different animals. I mean, Misiorowski's Sproat's like 6'3" and kind of fit, strong and physical. And Misiorowski's like 6'7" and I don't know, kind of like a baby giraffe out there on the mound a little bit, trying to he's still learning how to keep everything in sync. And like, honestly, the guy hasn't pitched a whole lot because he lost his high school senior season in the pandemic. His first year junior college, he tears his meniscus in his first start. So he doesn't have a whole lot of innings under his belt. And I think the difference is Sproat's got good stuff. Like Misiorowski's stuff is insane. And then you couple not only how hard he throws, but the angle he throws at. Like the ball comes out of his hand because he's so big and it's such a low slot from a spot where it really doesn't come out of anybody else's hand, or very few guys. And nobody where it comes out at that wide angle has, is throwing 103-mile-an-hour fastballs and 94-mile-an-hour sliders.
Yep.
Like your eye, so much of hitting is muscle memory and eye memory. Like you see the ball come out. Like you've never seen pitches like that come out of that location ever. So if Mizorowski is just close to, like, Mizorowski, if he even has, I'd say, below average control, he's just close enough to the plate. His stuff's so good, you don't have time to react. He's going to be fine. Whereas Sproat, he has good stuff, but a lot of big leaguers have good stuff, and he's got to have more of that average or better command to really thrive, or at least to reach his potential.
Jim Callis, senior writer, MLB Pipeline. Follow him on X at Jim Callis MLB. Going to reveal the rest of their top 100 prospects list tonight on MLB Network. I have one more for you. Do you think any of these highly touted guys that we're talking about here with the Brewers, Made, Andrew Fisher's the number 1 rated third base prospect and so forth, any of these guys you think get a cup of coffee at some point this year in Milwaukee, say September, when September call-ups come, or maybe before then? Like, you look at Joey Ortiz. If Joey Ortiz struggles and if Made is playing well, I just wonder whether or not they may not just say, to hell with this. Let's just see if the kid can handle it.
Yeah, he is going to be 19 this year. I think the 2 Mets guys who just came over, we'll see in the big. I mean, obviously Sproat's playing the big leagues and Williams is knocking on the door. The rest of them, I don't know. Like with Made, those guys write their own ETAs. Like he's so ridiculously talented.
I love that you laugh when you say that. That makes me feel really good about
him.
No,
I mean, you just think about him. It's crazy what he did at 18 last year. Like I can't really see him because the Brewers are a talented team. It's not like they're riddled with holes. I think there's a small chance that he's so good that maybe, but you have Jett Williams ahead of him. I think it's maybe more likely we see Cooper Pratt, who I think could come up and play a big league shortstop right now. I don't know that he would be a ton of impact at the plate. He could kind of hold his own, but be a quality defender at short. I think of the guys who are in the system, Sparky, before the trade, who are going to be top 100 prospects this year, to start our year. Cooper Pratt is probably the most likely, more likely than say Made or Pena. Fisher, I wrote an article where somebody asked me who could be the Trey Savage of 2026, coming out of the draft. And I put Fisher in there. And again,
you did.
I don't like from an offensive standpoint, I don't know. I mean, Caleb Durbin's a gamer, but like I could see a scenario where maybe like on the extreme end, Caleb Durbin struggles more than expected, and Andrew Fisher really hits. Like there are people with teams who told me that Andrew Fisher had the best data of anybody in the draft last year, college hitting wise, just pure, exit velo, swing decisions, contact ability, all that stuff. I don't know if he's a third baseman. Maybe if Andrew Vaughn turns back into a pumpkin and Andrew Fisher rakes, he comes up late in the year. Again, that's a lot to ask for a hitter straight out of college, but I do, I think there's a non-zero chance. Like the Brewers just have a very fun farm system, and they get guys who aren't necessarily big names too, and they help guys develop and make them into better players. So, I think it's more an issue that their big league team is talented enough that there aren't a lot of openings that we won't see some of these guys probably until 2027.
I'll just say this. If Andrew Vaughn doesn't turn back into a pumpkin, that might be the biggest development success story the Brewers have at this point, if he ends up being like everybody thought he was going to be coming out of the draft.
Or even close to it. Because, I'm based in Chicago, and everybody in Chicago, White Sox fans were asking me, like what the hell? Like what is this? And I don't think the White Sox did Andrew Vaughn any favors by getting him to try to play the outfield. He's not an outfielder. But he kind of had one year where it looked like, okay, he was starting to be the guy who was the number 3 pick in the draft, and then he just got progressively worse as the team got worse. And then he goes to Brewers and he's hitting at an all-star level and batting in the middle lineup on a team that's winning playoff games. Nobody in Chicago could believe that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. It was amazing. Jim Callis, thank you so much. You're always the best. Senior writer, MLB Pipeline, on X at Jim Callis MLB. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great talking to you, Sparky.